morning, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you are having a fantastic day. If you're new to the channel, my name is Parker Nirenstein, and this is Vehicle Virgins. Smash that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell. I see you, notification gang, with all your notification gang comments. I love you, looking stronger than ever. Chances are, if you're subscribed to this channel or you are watching right now, you are a pretty big car enthusiast. And if you're a car enthusiast, you've probably taken a couple photos of cars. Whether it's your car or cars at a car meet, you want to capture their beauty. You want to be able to share them with friends. But if you're like me, you could probably use a little practice and some tips to take better photos, because there is nothing cooler than sharing an epic photo that you took of a car at a car meet or your own car with your friends and being like, damn, that actually looks pretty good. Now, I am not a pro by any means. That is why today we are meeting up with one of my best friends, James, who is an incredible photographer. And he's gonna give us some tips and tricks on how to take absolutely mind-blowing, stunning photos. But before we get started, guys, I want to extend a special thanks and shout out to the sponsor of today's video, Honey. Honey is absolutely genius, guys. It's a free browser extension that automatically finds the best coupon codes online so you can save the most money when you're shopping. It works silently in the background and tests every single coupon code on the internet and applies the one that'll save you the most money. How smart is that? How everyone is not using Honey at this point, I have no idea. But before I found out about it, every time I saw a coupon box online, I always felt like there was some code, something I could type in that would save me a ton of money. I just didn't know what it was. But now, Honey's got your back. Honey is super easy to install. Just go to joinhoney.com/vehiclevirgins, click Add Honey, click Install, and boom, you are done. Watch this. So I need a car cover for one of my vehicles, right? Click Add to Cart. This one's currently $263. Honey pops up, coupon codes found. Boom, I just saved $39 and I didn't do anything other than install Honey. There's literally no reason not to add Honey to your browser today. It's free, takes 2 clicks to install, and it will save you money. Seriously. Click the link in the description below to add Honey to your browser for free, or go to joinhoney.com/vehiclevirgins. Seriously, guys, it's worth checking out. Let's get on to the video. All right, I just heard James's car pull up. Let's go see. Oh. James! James! Hello? Oh, hello. What's up, dude? Good to see you. Oh, you got a tripod and a backpack? Okay, actually, that's like a convenient segue. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about in this video is equipment. Because obviously, equipment is a pretty important factor in taking pictures. So what do you use?
So main camera I use is a Canon 5D Mark III.
Gotcha.
A 24 to 70, I think, millimeter lens.
Yeah. Nice.
And then I just have other different
random cameras. And then what is this?
So this is my cheap tripod that I just kind of keep in the Camaro.
Gotcha.
It's a Sunpack Ultra 6000 PG. It's like 50, 60 bucks at Best Buy. Literally, for the travel use of it, it's phenomenal.
There's different levels of equipment that you could use. Obviously, you don't need, I have a Canon 5D Mark III, love the camera, it's absolutely incredible. Obviously, it's thousands of dollars, however. Surprisingly, nowadays, now, if you don't already have one, I wouldn't recommend going to buy one for the sake of photography, but an iPhone X, a Pixel 2, or a Galaxy Note 8 have really good cameras on them if you already have that. Honestly though, which we'll talk about later, the lighting is a huge factor in terms of when you're taking pictures on phones, because, well, they just don't have as big of a sensor. Then when you bump up a level in the $400 to $600 range, you've got the Canon T5i, T6i, and then also a Nikon D3300, and then all the way up to the 5Ds and the A7Rs, and then you can go above that with like the 1DX and Hasselblad and all of that crazy stuff, but we're not gonna go to that level. How often do you use a tripod? Like, how important is a tripod in automotive photography?
Well, honestly, I can say it's 50-50.
Gotcha.
For me.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think every single photographer is different. Personally, I like handheld.
Gotcha.
To actually be able to walk around and get down low, get up high, get places where most tripods can't actually get to.
Yeah.
But say it's a darker shot.
Yeah.
You'd actually need to lower the ISO, lower down the aperture, all that, and bam.
Yeah, need a tripod for that for sure.
Tripod.
All right, so let's go find a location. All right, now we got to pick the subject. I think this Lamborghini Huracan will do. James hasn't shot this very much, so
no.
yeah, no, it's ridiculous. I don't know how that's happened, but this subject doesn't have a large trunk space. But this is a really small tripod, so it'll fit. That's convenient. How to cram a Lamborghini trunk. Now this has nothing to do with photography, but we got to do a cold start for the heck of it. All right, so the next part is finding a good location. Obviously, if you are at a car show, this can be super difficult. That's part of the reason why I personally don't love shooting pictures at car shows, because there's people in the background, there's other cars in the background, and it kind of detracts from the subject. Sometimes supercar owners are super friendly and they'll pull the car off to the side and you can do a little photo shoot with the car, but oftentimes that's not the case. But if you have free range with the car, then finding a good location is awesome. You got any tips for location finding?
Be different.
Gotcha.
Always go out. Honestly, what I am starting to get back into that I used to do all the time was once a week I would go out and just drive and just go scouting for different spots, because a lot of photographers keep one spot and keep using it over and over and over and over, and finally your photos just kind of get bland. So just go explore where you live. It's also fun to just see what an amazing place we live in.
That's super true. I totally agree about the shooting at the same spot over and over again, because no matter how talented you are at photography, if every shot is from the same angle and the same location, yeah, it can start to get boring. And if you don't know any place, yeah, driving around, and you can also end up finding amazing driving roads too, finding new spots or asking your friends if they know of any locations, although some people are kind of secretive about their spots. But we're gonna go try to find a spot that we've never shot in before. Let's see how it goes. Here is a perfect example of random location spotting. There was this one location that I had seen before, but unfortunately, because it's a weekend, there was a car parked in it. I was a little bit bummed out, but thought, you know what? I'll just drive around and see if we can find anything. We're driving down the road, and all of a sudden, look, I mean, this is like perfect. We just randomly stumbled upon this. Coming down the road, and boom, there's this epic plateau here with a crazy scenic background. That's awesome. One thing that I really like with locations is finding a place that's big. I feel like in this case, size does matter, so you can actually have a lot of space around the car to move about. What do you, I mean, you don't like filming in tight locations, do you?
Never.
Never.
Oh, this dude's mobbing.
This dude's mobbing? We got a mobber. Anything you look for in a good location?
Mostly space. That's always nice. However, honestly, just different things in the background.
Yeah.
You want, personally, with all like my work, I like the whole picture to flow together.
Gotcha.
And you have your main subject, but then you have other things that are working together that build up the photo.
Yeah.
So, in this example, we have the giant, massive house.
Yeah, look at that thing up
and
there.
a Lambo.
They work together.
They work together. But then you also have the whole entire city of Los Angeles.
He took this photo, I've got to throw this up, of a McLaren when we were out in Las Vegas for SEMA, and there was legitimately, what was it, fighter jets in the background? It looked so good because the McLaren had the wings up, so a little bit of the plane vibe, and then having fighter jets in the background doing test flights, that was sick.
It was insane. Sometimes you're at the right place at the right time.
That is so true. Yep.
And so always try, if you can, to have your camera on hand, because some of the stuff you can capture is amazing.
Wise words of wisdom. So we've talked about equipment. You don't have to have the highest end equipment, although it can be helpful. So I gave you some suggestions, from iPhones to Androids to entry-level digital SLRs that are super good to some of the top end stuff. Then we talked about location spotting, and next, this is something I am so bad at, and that is lighting. Lighting is so important, and I don't know, are you supposed to shoot into the sun, away from the sun? Is it better in the sun or versus the shade? So in this instance, with the sun right there, where would you position the car?
I'm gonna flip it around.
Okay.
So that way I'm not shooting into the sun.
Yeah, so you want the sun to illuminate all of the cars so there's no shadows?
Exactly. And then also on top of it, it won't be overexposed.
Gotcha.
Because you shoot into it, the bright lights will literally dim out all, or not all, but a lot of the main details.
Sure, sure. Now, would you rather shoot in the sun like this at this time of day, or in the shade, or at sunset, or?
Personally, I love shooting during like golden hour.
Yeah, so what's that for people who don't know?
So golden hour is basically sunset. So maybe start shooting about an hour and a half before sun's supposed to set.
Yep.
So go on your iPhone, look during the weather thing, and it tells you exactly right there what time it's going to set. That way you can kind of get photos prior to the golden hour type like shots, but also you then can get the flow into all those different crazy colors that the sun setting gives.
Yeah. That's what we did with the E63 the other day when he took some awesome shots. I'll throw those up here, but looked super killer. All right, let's spin this thing around. Flip the car around. Now it's perfectly illuminated by the sun behind me. A lot of times when I see photos of cars, half the car is in the shade. Don't take photos when you're partially over here. Make sure that the lighting is consistent. If you're in the shade, be fully in the shade. If you're in the sun, have the car fully in the sun. Oh, what are you doing over there? Oh.
Basically just cleaning up around the car, so less editing I have to do.
Gotcha.
Always a smart thing to do. No, saves you time. And
see, that is something I never would have thought of. Random twigs and stones that might look bad around the car. Sometimes they look cool, and I've seen you add stuff in.
Yeah. It all depends on the field.
Let's take a look at that bad boy. The 5D Mark III. Now, why the 24 to 70?
This way I can be up close with the car. Literally, I can stand maybe a foot away from like the logo.
Yeah.
And get still the whole entire car from like a little section of it.
Yeah, I feel like having a wide angle lens is super important with car photography, because often you can't just be super far away from the car. So it's useful to have. The 5D Mark III, I believe a lot of times comes in a kit with a 24 to 105. That's what I shoot with a lot of the times because it's super versatile. And with the 105, you can be far away and zoom in for a shallower depth of field. But I'll let the pro start working. Oh, look at the rare photographer framing his shots. I'll say it before, but I'll say it again. I'm throwing up his Instagram right now on the screen at @thejoker_photography. His stuff is super dope. Make sure to give him a follow. He deserves way more followers than he has right now. And especially, thanks for all this valuable knowledge you're dropping on the community.
Gotcha.
Hell yeah, dude.
Hell yeah. Knowledge.
Oh, she looks so good. But what we just remembered is my gas cap is missing because they used that to paint match the new carbon fiber hood, so he's gonna have to do some photoshopping to get rid of that black spot. Sorry about that. It's not my fault.
Sure.
One problem with shooting during the middle of the day with harsh lighting like this is, as you can see, James is standing right in front of the car and his shadow is just ramming itself into my Lamborghini. So you have to either crouch down or stand far away and zoom in so it doesn't get in the photo. Okay, what on earth are you doing?
Climbing a mountain.
And why?
Angles, bro.
The foliage. He is all about the foliage.
Oh, come on. Foliage all the way.
Okay, I feel like that transitions into number... Oh, wait, nope, pause. Sports car driving. All right, I feel like that's a good transition into number 4, and that is framing. James is all about those crazy angles. I mean, he just summited this mountain here. Please don't fall. Tip number 4, don't fall.
Also, never lose your lens cap.
Oh, that is so real. He loses his lens cap every freaking time. Another thing is putting stuff in the foreground. James does this a lot where you've got leaves or rocks or some sort of formation in the foreground and then your main subject in the background. You can play on what you're focusing on, whether it's the foreground there. I doubt he's focusing on the leaf right there, but adds for a cool effect. Whoa, we got some more foreground action here. Some foreplay. What? What do we got? We got foliage. Oh my gosh, those are sick.
With a beer can.
So how many photos do you think you take in a photo shoot?
I don't know. I try maybe 400.
400?
Yeah.
And how many of those are good? Well, how many of those do you think are good and worthy of 5? Holy crap.
Just about. I mean, here's the thing is literally, we have another friend of ours who's a automotive photographer, and he shoots very differently than I do. I shoot multi shots, like, and just move the camera up or down. Or
Yeah.
The problem with that is sometimes the photos are blurry.
Yeah, sure.
So that's where I do end up deleting a lot of those photos. But to me, it's one of those things, if you keep changing the angle and trying to get that little bit of a difference, honestly, two little tiny degrees off.
Yeah, it makes a big difference.
Can make a massive difference.
Yeah.
Especially with the sun hitting it off like just flares and stuff.
Yeah, you have some good sun flare shots. Hell yeah. Get out of my shot! Why do people litter in places so beautiful? It is green, but now I don't know what to do with it, because if I touch it, then I'm littering.
Let the wind take it.
Oh, okay. Okay, how is that a picture of the car?
It's not. Well, it is, but it isn't. So basically, when I go to edit the photo, took the picture of the house.
Okay.
That way I can enlarge it. And then it's a bigger house that you can see on the hill. So it's
bigger in the photo?
Yeah.
That house is already huge. I'm just kidding. But no, that's freaking awesome. So you're gonna somehow modify part of the photo using a different photo so that it looks more impressive in the background. Yeah. That is the fifth thing we'll talk about later, is editing. That's insane. What about framing? So you got any framing tips?
Framing, it all depends on what you're trying to focus on. With me, when it's the actual car, I never try to leave just the car be the center of focus. Back to what I was saying earlier, with my photos, I try to keep it all as a whole.
Gotcha.
I still get the car, and the car's still the main focus, but then you get some different trees or different textures that can add to the photo. So right here, basically the car is off to the bottom right of the frame. So basically I just like using the rule of thirds. So basically the car is off in the bottom right corner. But say earlier I was shooting part of the wheel, and I had that be the center focus of the whole entire composition of the photo.
So if you're shooting the wheel, or maybe one individual piece, it's
details.
Yep.
That could be better off in the actual center of the photo, but personally, I just find it bland.
Yeah.
Shoot right in the middle. There's too much going on in the foreground and in the background, and
sure.
Just kind of size it down.
Certainly, whatever you do not crop off part of the car like this. I see the craziest photos where it's like a potato camera cropped the car out.
Say the whole iPhone thing you were talking about earlier. Don't take a shot where you got 95% of the car in it, but left.
That's so true. Maybe if you have half the car and it's purposeful, but when it's like, okay, you missed that one spot, it doesn't make any sense to not have it in there. It looks bad.
It looks weird.
All right, well now we're gonna change up the angle, I think, because we've got a bunch of front and side shots. What are you thinking now?
I'm thinking if we face the front that way and the ass that way.
Yep, get some booty shots. All right.
With that view,
yeah, that view's sick. It's super helpful once you move your car to a new location to step out, look at it for a bit, and see if there's anything you can do to maybe move the positioning of the car a little bit. We just noticed that when I put it here, it's on a little bit of an angle, which doesn't make the shots look very good. But if we move it over about 1.5 feet, this side of the car will bump up a little bit and it'll be all good to go. It's also super helpful to have two people. James is able to spot this from the outside and tell me where to go. Yeah, the slight change made it look so much better. Oh, the foliage opportunity right here. I saw that from a mile away. James is excited about this one.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the foliage. Think you got some good shots?
I think so.
Alrighty.
Let's go see.
Let's go see. Next up, number 5, editing. We are back at my place, and now it is time to talk about step number 5, and probably, I don't know, would you say one of the most important parts?
Yeah, one of them.
Is editing. So, what editing software do you use?
So my main edit, I'll mainly use Lightroom.
Gotcha.
But then to actually go in and start changing and just cleaning up photos is when I'll go into Photoshop. And especially with shadowed areas, like very, very dark areas, I try to bring those back up also in Photoshop.
Gotcha.
It's a lot easier to play around and get specifically what you want.
One thing that I like about Lightroom, well, two things actually. So he showed me Lightroom. I use it now, obviously nowhere near to the same degree, but once you know a couple of things to look for in pictures and a couple of sliders, it makes it pretty simple to do okay edits. Obviously, it gets much more advanced, and I'm sure he does some crazy techniques, but it's not that hard to use, and it's actually not all that expensive. Lightroom costs about $120, but there are some good free options. GIMP is one of those online. We've got Pixlr, and there's a few other options, but Lightroom, definitely one of the best. All right, about to import all of these. Now, does your camera, is it taking both RAW photos and JPEGs at the same?
RAW.
Only RAW.
Yeah.
What's the advantage of RAW files?
So basically JPEG, all the information that's inside the photo, color-wise, detail, all of that, is when you have a JPEG, it all gets crunched together.
Yeah.
As a RAW, it's all separate. So that way you can actually change different aspects that you wouldn't be able to actually change inside of it. So the information in a RAW is just endless.
Yeah. So if something's super dark right here and you lost some details, you can really boost up the shadows and make that a lot more detailed, and that can't really happen in a JPEG. What I really like is that the photos in stock form are good, and you can tell that some of them are framed really cool, but the before and after, edited versus non-edited, is impressive. I'm curious to see. You don't have to expose all of your tricks, but maybe a couple, so we can see how to make some better photos.
I got you.
Checking to make sure it's in focus.
Yeah. Can't tell you how many times I've gone in and edited, and finally, like 30 minutes into it, I'll look and be like, damn.
That's
part
brutal.
of it's in focus, but part of it's not.
Yeah.
You just gotta trash it. That's why I take a lot of photos.
Yep.
You have a lot to work with.
All right, we're gonna go with this photo. So here is the before.
I usually crop it to a 4x5. More for Instagram type uses.
Gotcha.
It's just more friendly on that.
And also, you were saying something about Instagram, how if you crop it like 16:9, then when you're scrolling through Instagram, it might show the other person's photo below it. Yeah, but if you have it this way, yours will fill like the entire phone screen.
So with this, it'll be larger, so it'll fill up basically all you can on the Instagram platform.
Yeah.
The 16:9 is for the stories.
Gotcha.
So if you want to fill the story part of it, do a 16:9.
Or is it 9:16?
Or 9:16.
Yeah.
I usually do 16:9 and then flip it.
Gotcha.
So usually you just start out with vertical.
Yep.
Yeah. So come in here, start trying to figure out what tone you
So is
want.
that white balance?
Yeah.
Okay.
Add a little bit of contrast, bring out the shadows, bring down highlights, and also depending on where you shot, you might want to bring up or bring down the whites, which will help basically the sun hitting the paint. It'll help bring down the brightness.
Gotcha.
Instead of actually bringing down the exposure of everything.
Sure.
Usually I don't actually edit on like a trackpad or a mouse pad. I have a thing called a Wacom tablet. Okay. And so basically it is a mouse / trackpad that also is a pen. Like
okay.
So that way you can actually act like you're painting while you're editing. Anyway. So it makes it easier to actually zoom in, and you can get all the fine details. So the harder you press on it, the stronger the opacity is, and the lighter you like press on it.
Wow, that's insane.
Honestly, another photographer, when I first started out, sat down with him and he's like, listen, this is something you should invest in. And I went home, and honestly, I actually bought one that day.
That's awesome.
I've loved it ever since.
Sweet. Well, I'm glad now you get to use my laptop. Now, is there a typical order that you go in with sliders?
Really.
No?
Honestly, I mean, you'll hear a lot of photographers say this, is it all depends on your style.
Gotcha.
So that's why, like I've seen other photographers where I look at it, it's not my personal style. So how I do it, I just usually start with the overall vibrance of the whole entire photo. Make sure everything flows together, meaning the paint on the car is still correct, and it hasn't been overexposed or anything's been messed with it. And then I'll start going into the background, and then one of the last things I focus on is the foreground.
Gotcha.
Because then that way I know exactly what to take from the background and flow it into the foreground, which then it all works together.
Sweet. So here is the before, basically. He's done a tiny bit of touches, and then after, all right, before and after so far, we'll throw up the full high-res, totally edited version of this photo. It's unbelievable, the difference. You beast. One thing that I see a lot of people do when they're editing photos is forget what the actual color of the car is. So they're so focused on editing it and boosting the vibrance and the clarity and messing with the colors that all of a sudden at the end of it, you're like, wait a minute, my Huracan isn't yellow, it's Verde Mantis. So you are messing with the individual saturation of the different colors.
Like we were just talking, is the problem I used to have actually when we first met. I remember, I think it was you. I sent you a picture and you're like, yeah, I like the photo. However, my car is not a crayon color. It's like, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that sucks. Shit. So that's one thing, actually ever since then, I really focus on is making sure while editing that color doesn't change.
Yeah, because you want to make the photo both look cool but also real at the same time. Exactly. You can't make it like so ridiculous that you lose what the car actually is. One thing that I learned that totally changed my perception of editing photos from James was breaking the photo down kind of into different sections. So you're not just editing the colors of the entire picture or the shadows or the whites or the blacks of the entire picture. So you're going into like individual areas, right? So you were working on the foreground.
So now basically I'm starting to work on the headlights.
Okay.
So see how this headlight has more of a bluish tint than this. So it's more just getting into the little details now and changing them to match.
Yeah. And then you were also editing the sky as an individual section.
So here's the sky. This was the ground.
Nuts. Crazy.
Tires and all that. Yeah.
Dang. So check this out. You can see a reflection of the sky in the side of the car. So it made the side look blue. And then he went in and actually edited just that section.
So it's green.
Now it's green. Look at that. Before, blue, and then it's green. Unbelievable. Do you have any like exporting tips for like Instagram photos or?
I mean, not really. I mean, when I go down to it, like we were talking earlier, is I save them as JPEG, quality all the way.
Then you just upload it to Instagram, you get thousands of likes, boom! Bam. All right, guys, well, I hope you enjoyed that video of James teaching you guys how to take epic photos, also for Instagram. We went over equipment, the ranges of equipment that you can get, how to spot good locations, what makes a good location, lighting, framing of the photo, and then finally, editing. I'll throw up some of the final pictures here that James took from the day. I'm sure they're gonna be absolutely epic. Here they are. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like always, please browse the channel and subscribe. Make sure to follow him on Instagram. I look forward to seeing you next video. Peace.